Alright, so I just want to break down a simple three-step system that we're using to scale ecom brands past 7 figures a month. And this is, just to prove to show you that we're actually doing it. And it's been proven to work across dozens of ecom brands. But first of all, let me show you some tangible results. So this brand we started working with in September 2025. Here's the screenshot before, so in August 2025. And I know that you will say that, November is always better, so it doesn't count and yada, yada, yada. Even though this brand specifically hit their first 1 mil month in November, we hit another one in December, so back to back over 1 million months. And then in January, we scaled even further to almost 1.3 mil in a month. So again, obviously Black Friday makes it easier, but it's not like we can scale brands only during Black Friday and then nothing else. And still, you would still want to hit this 1 mil in Black Friday, mainly because it's easier and you can just do it more efficiently and book in more profit. But yeah, you can see that, this brand started almost halfway there. And the beauty of this thing is that honestly, we've worked with over 70 brands. Some of them I put logo on the screen, maybe you recognize them: Viper, Levoit, Kosori, and dozens of other brands. And the funny thing about them is that they already had a setup, just like this brand. So they had some kind of email setup going, but it wasn't enough for them to scale. And I'll show you later on what was exactly broken, how we fixed that super easily. Because honestly, from the first month we started working with them, we already started scaling. And again, I'm just gonna show you month by month screenshot breakdown so you can see how it went. And we didn't need more than 1 month to show them actual results of how it works. But now you might be wondering, why is this important, or even why is this important right now? So like I said, going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, getting to your first 1 million a month or just scaling to any level you want to is easier. That's first of all. But then secondly, and I would say probably even most importantly, momentum is key. So if you stop scaling your brand right now or don't want to actively work on this, you will lose momentum. Like this brand that, again, I showed you screenshots just right now. Here's the breakdown of month by month, how they were growing. So you can see that pretty much whole year it's been flat. Again, we took over in September. You can already see that September was their first or best month ever in 2025 because we started working together. October was their another best month ever, so back-to-back record months. And then obviously November was record-breaking month, almost 470k from email. And then December we repeated that, and then in January we also repeated that. So this is what I mean by momentum. When you start scaling, going into Q4, it's so much easier to maintain the momentum and keep on scaling and keep, maintaining the level that you want to maintain. You might think, okay, maybe you got lucky, maybe this is just one example. So I'm here to show you another one. Here's the second brand. Again, it's funny now, but 2025, we hit 3 brands that hit their first 1 mil a month, which was crazy, but this was the second one of them, right? So they hit 1.3 mil total revenue. Email has generated 34% revenue. And now in July 2026, so fairly recently, they've generated almost 1.8 mil with email generating over 550k a month. So again, this is another confirmation that momentum is key, because you can see that it's been a bit slower, September, October. In November, boom, we scaled hard. Then of course it dipped down. It's not gonna be always like this brand that it just keep hell scaling every single month over month. But for them, it was a bit of a slower, of a period. But another thing I want to say is that you want to still compare the baseline. So if you look at the baseline before November, you can see that they've been doing roughly 170, 80k-ish from email, which is still pretty good because that was around 30% of the revenue. But then we had this big spike in November, and yeah, then we were seeing a drop, but the drop has higher baseline. So even though it's lower in November, we were still generating over 280k a month from email, which is pretty much over 50% more than what was our baseline before Q4. And then again, going into May, Memorial Day, stuff like that, we scaled them even further, where in May we made more revenue than in November last year, and then July was even crazier, which is again the most recent result for them. So that's what I mean by momentum, and this is why you want to fix your setup before Q4, because if you fix it before Q4, and you scale hard, you can maintain that level, increase your baseline revenue, and then just keep on scaling going into Q2, which is honestly insane for scaling as well. This is an example of that as well. So let me show you what exactly we're doing. And this is again, simple 3-step process. The first step we always do for brands is foundations. Because yep, I know, and honestly, all of these brands we work with, or like the majority of them, they already have some kind of setup. If they don't have a setup, like you need to get it ASAP because that's gonna make scaling so much easier, faster, and more profitable. But the truth is that most brands already have something. The thing is that having something is just not enough. So you might think that you have some flow set up, you're sending campaigns, you have deliverability, list growth, all of that, and you might be right. But in most cases, it's not enough. So what we do for most brands is we start with foundations, and those foundations are usually deliverability and list growth. For simple reasons, like if any of this is broken, nothing else matters and your email won't be bringing in as much revenue as it should. So poor deliverability usually results in you hitting only a fraction of the list or like hitting all of them. But let's say if your open rate is 20% or 15%, then that means that 80 or 85% of all recipients are not seeing your emails. So that's why it's so important. Weak pop-up means that your list is going to be growing very slowly and the volume of all emails is going to be low in general. And last but not least, if you have any dead subscribers, you need to re-engage them because we've seen multiple brands with tens of thousands of inactive subscribers that are just paying for every single month, and Klaviyo is happy because of that, but they're not making any revenue and they should be. So again, for one of the brands, this is an example we took over September. You can kind of see how we improved their list growth and how many more subscribers we were getting. Like in our best month, we got 12k subscribers, which is almost twice as much as their baseline before. And again, like if you double that, you're getting twice as many campaign recipients, flow recipients, and so on and so forth. The second step is all about the conversion. So if our emails are getting delivered and we're growing our list very fast, we want to be converting those subscribers into customers because otherwise we're gonna end up with one of the mistakes, which is having tens of thousands of dollars of inactive profiles that are not doing anything, just sitting in there. So for a lot of brands, they have some kind of setup that think they're using to convert, but there's a lot of mistakes they're making which prevent them from again scaling further. One of them would be the volume, so not sending enough emails or not having enough length of the flows. Another one would be sending random emails to random segments, which is essentially no strategy at all, which feels like, whenever you have time, we just do something. Basic copy, focusing only on discounts and unoptimized design. Discounts are costing you margin. They're not bad. I'm not saying they're bad. They're costing you margin, and relying only on them is bad. Using them, mindfully, plugging them into your strategy can be extremely powerful. Unoptimized design, it's costing you a ton of clicks, ton of revenue as well. Usually those brands also have no plan for improving the results. So let's say they're gonna pay the freelancer, whatever, to set up the flows. They set it up and that's it. Like the flows are live, they're running, but you never know if they're performing. You never know how to make them better. You never know how to improve them, which brings me to my next point, which is flows are doing okay, but they're not doing great. And this screenshot is the perfect example of that, where again, this is the brand where I showed you at the beginning. We took over in September. You can already see the spike in the revenue. Like it's as simple as that. And total recipients didn't even increase that much. So it wasn't about just improving the list growth. It was also about making the flows better, A/B testing them, different copy, different messaging, different offers, different design, different time delays, a bunch of other stuff that really matters. And you can see that we've been growing significantly every single month in terms of our flows revenue. Of course, later on, recipients increased because we started doing a bunch of more stuff. But you can see how nicely your revenue just kept growing after we took over. Then no SMS is another huge mistake, especially if you run a brand in the US. That's gonna be like a no-brainer because SMS is hella cheap in there and it just has insane results, very high click rate, way higher than email. So it's super, super important. And then some honestly simple flow mistakes like wrong filters, triggers, splits, links, dynamic section is not working, sending duplicate emails, not sending them at all. It might be simple, but trust me, I've seen brands doing over 1 mil a month that did have these mistakes. And some of, for example, abandoned checkout emails weren't sending out. When they checked Klaviyo, it seems to be live, but the majority of people were not getting the emails from them at all. That's again, just to show you, the campaign side for this brand as well, where they've been just scaled pretty hard. Obviously, we increased recipients. We started converting more of those dead prospects into paying customers. And you can see that we already showed that result in October, which was a great month for them. Again, their best month ever for campaigns revenue, even before Q or Black Friday came in. Now, this is going to be the last step for our process. or formula, which is gonna be maximizing. And when I say maximize, it's about maximizing everything, like really. First step would be adding upsells, cross-sells, and maximizing LTV. Because once you pay to acquire the customer, you already have them in your list. You just want to maximize the amount of money they're spending with your brand, because these next purchases are gonna be extremely profitable. Other thing you can do is just create a different split for your flows. So focus on bestsellers, optimize them quite a lot. Then you also want to bump up the volume. So for this brand, we started doing 3 emails per week in October, but then we upped it to 4 per week, and during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, sometimes even 2 emails per day. I know you might say it's a lot, but if you want to make money, that's what needed to, make this happen and make it a reality. And then we also focus on quality versus quantity. And I have those two beautiful charts where it kind of shows you the exponential results of focusing on quantity versus quality. So if you're sending more emails, up to a certain point, it's gonna be incremental increase. Like if you're sending 1 per week and you bump it to 3 per week, it's gonna pretty much linearly scale, like 3 times the revenue pretty much. But if you bump it from 3 to 4, the growth isn't as big. If you bump it from 4 to 5, it's even smaller. I'm not saying it's declining or it's smaller, because obviously there will still be growth in terms of total revenue generated, but it won't be as significant as if you're starting from 0 and start suddenly sending 4 emails a week. That's why you also want to focus on the quality of the emails, because if you keep on reiterating and improving every single campaign you send out, over time, those results will compound, and it's gonna be, the growth is gonna be exponential, which is just gonna be extremely worth it for you as well. So that's another thing we want to really focus on, which is sending a lot of emails, but also sending quality emails. Consistency, this one might be, surprising, but a lot of brands or even agencies, they will do a lot of stuff in the first 2 or 3 months, and then they're gonna forget that they need to do stuff because things are going well. It's not an excuse. You need to be pushing every single month. Keep on testing, even if it's a small thing. You still want to be running tests and improving, because those small percentage improvements are gonna compound over time, especially during times like Q4, Black Friday, and stuff like that. Copy and design, just testing different angles, messaging, improving the design side, copy. Again, just quality of the emails matters quite a lot. Expanded segments beyond the regular engaged segments. So we just want to be hitting a big chunk of your list. I'm not saying you should be blasting all of them at once, but making it fairly broad, so you're actually using all of the profiles you're paying for. And then another thing you want to do if you want to maximize your revenue is just simply adding new channels. So like I said before, SMS is an amazing channel for a lot of brands. WhatsApp, direct mail. You can keep on adding more and more and more until you have different channels that technically, just produce revenue, but ultimately they produce a lot of profit. And this is an example of the SMS channel that we launched for this brand. Again, they had something going on, but it wasn't really working. Again, you can see the first month we started working with them, SMS already generated over 40K revenue, over 50 actually, which was their best month ever for SMS. And then in Q4, that was even better. Same goes for here. You can see that we just started sending more campaigns, generating more revenue. And in a span of 4 months, we generated 240K in extra revenue just coming in from SMS, which is pretty good. So if you run a brand and if you want results like this, if you think that you already have something set up, some kind of email setup, flow setup, you do something with campaigns, you do something with pop-ups, but don't feel confident in scaling and just want to scale like these brands, like for example this one where we took over fully in April and suddenly we have beaten every single month in Q1, and then you have beaten that once again in May, generating them 3.5 million in total revenue, almost 940K in revenue. So yeah, if you want to get results like this, scale your brand profitably, crush it this Q4, Black Friday, and then even further, keep the momentum going, just book a call with me. I'm just gonna walk you through, what exactly we can do for your brand specifically. I'm gonna show you how we can improve your results, how we can scale you further. And if you're not gonna be a fit, I'm gonna let you know as well. We are very selective, about the brands we work with. That's also why in 2025, none of our clients left us, because our retention is really good. Funny enough, as a retention agency. So yeah, we're selective, and I'm not saying it just for the sake of getting you on a call. We actually work only with brands that I truly believe we can help. So yeah, if you want to scale, if you want to see if we're able to help you, book a call below, and then I'll have a quick chat. Talk soon.